Hi guys! Welcome sa Secant. In this video ay itutuloy natin yung series natin on calculus. And sa video na to ay pag-uusapan natin yung limit ng iba pang trigonometric functions. Sa previous video, naaral natin yung limit ng sine and cosine functions. And napag-aralan natin, nakapareho lang siya ng polynomial functions, no? Walang break yung graph at wala ring asymptote. Kaya pag nag-compute tayo ng limit, ay diretso na nating sinosubstitute. Halimbawa, yung limit ng sine x as x approaches a is equal to sine a. So pag meron tayong limit of sine x as x approaches pi halves, pwede na nating diretsong isubstitute dun sa x, which is sine pi halves. And from the unit circle, kita natin na nandito yung pi halves. Yung sine pi halves ay yung y-coordinate at yung cosine pi halves ay yung x-coordinate niya na 0. So since sine pi halves yung hinahanap natin, the answer is 1. So this is equal to 1. Pero hindi lahat ng trigonometric functions katulad ng sine and cosine functions kung saan walang break or asymptote yung graph, no? For example, yung tangent function, kita natin na marami siyang asymptotes, no? So yung graph ng tangent function ay yung nakikita nyong kulay blue at yung mga dashed vertical lines, yan yung asymptotes nila. So for example, kita natin sa x equals 3 pi divided by 2, as x approaches from the left, no? Ito yung graph natin, which is pataas, it approaches infinity. Pero if x approach from the right, yung graph naman natin ay pababa. So negative infinity naman. Meaning magkaiba yung kanilang left hand and right hand limits. So the limit does not exist at x equals 3 pi divided by 2 and also other values. So yung pi halves, yung 3 pi divided by 2, yung 5 pi divided by 2. And also their negatives, no? Negative pi halves, negative 3 pi divided by 2, tsaka negative 5 pi divided by 2. Yung mga vertical asymptotes as listed here. So for example, the limit of tangent x as x approaches pi halves does not exist na siya. Dahil asymptote siya at magkaiba yung left hand limit tsaka right hand limit. Okay, so let's have some examples. The limit of tangent x as x approaches pi divided by 4. So meaning, pwede na natin siyang i-substitute directly, no? Kasi continuous naman yung tangent function maliban dun sa mga asymptotes. So this is tangent pi fourths. And ano nga ulit yung tangent theta? That's sine theta over cosine theta. And yung pi divided by 4, kita natin dito siya. So ito yung sine pi divided by 4. Ito naman yung cosine pi divided by 4. Yung sine is yung y-coordinate, tsaka yung cosine is yung x-coordinate. So pareho silang square root of 2 divided by 2, di ba? So since tangent theta is equal to sine theta over cosine theta, this is sine pi fourths divided by cosine pi fourths. Ang kita natin dyan ay pareho silang square root of 2 halves. And of course, pareho lang yung numerator tsaka denominator, which means that this is equal to 1. So this is equal to 1. What about the limit of tangent x as x approaches 2 pi divided by 3? So again, this is not a vertical asymptote, which means that we can substitute directly. Tangent 2 pi divided by 3. Ang tangent 2 pi divided by 3 is sine 2 pi thirds divided by cosine 2 pi thirds, which is equal to, nasaan ang 2 pi thirds? Ito yun, no? So this one, ito yung sine niya, ito yung cosine. So this is square root of 3 halves divided by negative 1 half. So square root of 3 halves times negative 2 divided by 1. This is a negative. We can cancel. And this is square root of 3 divided by 1. Or just negative square root of 3. So pwede natin burahin yan. at palitan ng negative square root of 3. So this is negative square root of 3. And for number 3, makikita natin sa graph that it's actually a vertical asymptote. So the limit does not exist. Now here's another example. So this is the graph of f of x equals secant x. So the limit does not exist doon sa vertical asymptotes. And kung makapapansin nyo, pareho yung vertical asymptotes niya doon sa tangent function natin. Well, hindi yan palagi, no? So you have to examine the vertical asymptotes of the other trigonometric functions. We don't have time to learn them all, pero since you know the idea, dapat you explore them on your own. Okay, so let's have some examples of the limit of secant function. Ang gagawin ko ay gawin ko lang yung first example, and then I'll give you the answer to the second and the third examples, and gawin nyo na lang on your own. So yung limit ng secant 5 pi divided by 6, saan ang 5 pi divided by 6? Siya, di ba? And hinahanap natin yung secant. If you check the graph earlier, hindi siya vertical asymptote, so the limit exists, which means that we can just substitute. Kasi continuous naman yung graph, maliban doon sa asymptotes. So this is secant 5 pi divided by 6. And ano nga ulit yung secant? 1 over cosine, di ba? 1 over cosine 5 pi divided by 6, which is equal to, alin ang cosine? Yung x-coordinate, no? So this is equal to 1 divided by negative square root of 3 divided by 2. And again, we get the reciprocal. So magiging 1 times negative 2 divided by square root of 3, which is negative 2 divided by square root of 3. And if you want to rationalize the denominator, we can just multiply by square root of 3 divided by square root of 3, which is equal to negative 2 square root of 3 divided by 3. Okay? So yun yung sagot natin sa number 1. This is equal to negative 2 square root of 3 divided by 3. So I'll give you the answer to number 5 and number 6. And you can use the unit circle to verify. So this is equal to 2, and this one is equal to negative square root of 2. Okay, so that's it. Sana nag-enjoy kayo. Huwag niyo kalimutan mag-subscribe sa ating channel. Bring your friends. Don't forget to like the video. I'll see you in the next tutorial.